All right, you guys, welcome to the Final Draft Write On podcast. I'm Lee Jessup, career coach and professor of business of screenwriting with the David Lynch grad program for cinematic studies, and also, fortunately, a mentor for the Final Draft Big Break contest winners. We are here today with Maya and Laura, our 2024 Big Break contest winners, to talk about who you are, what you did, what brought you here. So let's start with Maya. It is so great to have you here. You are our TV category winner. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Hello, Lee. I am from Maine, grew up in a small town. My mom is an energy healer. My dad practices alternative medicine. So I grew up in like a household that supported creativity, but I didn't know anybody out here. I'd never really been to LA before. So I was like, I want to write stories. I know that I want to do this. How am I going to get myself out there? So I applied to USC, got into the grad program, got my MFA there. And then from there, I worked at UTA in their TV Lit department. But I knew I didn't want to be an agent. I was like, I'm going to use this opportunity to try to somehow be a showrunner's assistant. That's like the dream job that I want, because I had heard all of this advice of like, if you want to work in television, which I knew I wanted, that you should kind of work your way up. That's kind of the most reliable in an industry that's not really reliable. And so did 2 years at UTA, and then now I work for John Wells at his production company as his assistant. And I've lived in LA for about 3 years now, and I've been writing, for the last 3 years, even before that. But it's been a great ride, and I've been so blessed to have been introduced to the Final Draft world. And I had no idea when I applied how expansive and how there's just so many opportunities with this prize and what comes with it. So it's been great.
That is awesome. I love hearing about all of that. Now, for the newbies that are listening who may not know who John Wells is.
Oh, yes. John Wells is a prolific showrunner, producer, director. He created ER, created The West Wing, Shameless, Made, so many shows that I haven't mentioned. He right now we just got picked up for season 2 on The Pit on Max. Everybody go stream it. It's amazing. Also, Fox's Rescue High Surf. There's a show called Untamed that is not out yet, but will be on Netflix hopefully in 2025 this year. And there's so many other shows that he's got kind of in the works. But he has his own production company, and it's just been so cool to see him work with so many different showrunners, so many different writers, and just see the way that he runs his company and the way that he produces is just like scripts come in on time. If the scripts come in on time, then everybody else can do their jobs. And he's just been a great mentor and someone that I look up to.
That's amazing. You got a front row seat to a really exceptional creator.
Yeah.
We'll get back to more of the competition and the script that won. But first, I want to introduce Laura. Hi, Laura.
Hi. Thank you so much for having me.
So good to have you. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So my entrance into the industry was a little bit different than Maya's. So I had a career before screenwriting. For about 10 years, I was working in politics in Washington, D.C., which is where I still live. My first job out of college was in Congress, which I think is a little unusual, but definitely shaped my worldview, which has fed into my writing. So now I've taken a break from the political or the more active political side of things to focus on being a creative, which I've been really loving. In that time frame, I've been able to have a lot of different jobs. So right now I work for an all-romance bookstore, which I adore. I do copy editing. I'm an associate producer on a documentary I'm excited about that's premiering at the National Gallery of Art next week. And in that time frame, in the last couple of years that I've been writing, I've found a lot of really wonderful collaborators and people who believed in me. So I wouldn't be where I was today without the Women in Film and Video Narrative Script Development Fellowship. They saw the potential in a very early draft of the script that I eventually won Final Draft with. And they worked with me for 9 months to kind of help me hone my voice, improve my writing ability, and to understand the industry that I was coming into.
Love that. Clearly, it brought you to where you are. So I'd love to hear a little bit more about the feature script that won the Final Draft Big Break competition. Tell us about it.
Absolutely. The name of the script is Bigger in Texas. And it follows a woman who, quote unquote, has it all in Texas. She has the wealth, the job, the husband, the kids, the reputation. And she loses all of that through a series of events that feel outside of her control. And she is desperate to get back to where she was. She's a little angry at the world. So she bonds together with an unlikely partner to blackmail powerful men using sex toys. And this is based on a real law in Texas that limits the number of sex toys that you can own. It's something that's rarely enforced, but not never. And so I based this on some real crimes that I researched and found out about. And you might see a politician or two whose name you recognize in the script.
That's so fun. And it's gotten such a great reception. Maya, tell us about the TV pilot that you submitted to the Final Draft Big Break contest.
So I wrote a half hour. It is called Fountain of Ruth, and it is about a retirement community where you can de-age. So it's elderly folks, retired folks who go to this community, get de-aged, and they look like they're in their 20s, but mentally are still in their 60s and 70s. And so it follows this married couple, Ruth and Hank. Ruth gets de-aged, comes out to find that her husband, Hank, has decided he got cold feet. He doesn't want to do it. So now they're mismatched into their golden years in this sort of like wacky community, trying to figure out how they're going to like mend their marriage and relationship.
That's so fun. I love that. So as writers finish scripts and feel like, okay, maybe there's something here, different people make different decisions. What inspired you guys to submit to competitions, and specifically this one?
Yeah. So for me, I don't live in LA. And so my way into the industry had to be different. I knew that contests were going to be a big part of me being able to demonstrate that I had ability when I didn't necessarily have the network or the ability to run into somebody at the supermarket or a bar or a restaurant and make those connections. So I did use contests. I used them judiciously. I did a lot of research on what contests were worthwhile, both their prize packages as well as their reputation. So if I placed in them, maybe if I didn't quite win them, that would still mean something in the industry. And so I did every time I had a new script. So Bigger in Texas was the first feature that I wrote, and I've since written a few more pieces. It would go through the rigmarole with my writing group. And once I felt like it was nearing the end of the feedback that I could get from them, I would send it out to contests to kind of gauge where I stood. And it really ran the gamut. I mean, sometimes things that I thought were wonderful didn't place, and sometimes things I was surprised that other people understood or related to ranked a little higher. And then, of course, I thought at the end of the road for Bigger in Texas, I had submitted it to a lot of contests. It had done well, but I was like, I don't know if this is going to hit for people. I don't know if people are going to relate to this. And Final Draft was my kind of last stop for that project before I had to figure out a new plan. And I'm just so lucky and blessed that it resonated with so many people, so many readers, and that it kind of gets a whole new audience now.
Which is so fantastic. And the script has already done so much for you, and we're going to get into that in just a second. Maya, I want to hear from you what the strategy was with submissions. Was it like a late at night, I don't know what to do with the script, okay, fine, some competitions, or what was the plan?
So coming out of USC, there were always like you should be submitting to contests and fellowships if you can. And I always felt like, if I don't feel like the script's ready, I don't want to spend the money and put myself out there in a way that doesn't feel like I'm going to get a lot back. So this was the first script that I was like, okay, I'm going to do my whole like run. And so I had like a notes document of like all of the contests that I'm going to apply for, all of the prices, how much money, I'm just tracking how much money I'm spending. Cause I was like, I'm going to just do one big go. And it was really like, I think it was more like a litmus test of like, where is the script? Like, how would it be received? And like, with this script, I was a quarterfinalist and some finalist in some competitions, and this was like obviously the most exciting, the winning. But yeah, it was like I just wanted to really put the best foot forward. And with this script, I was like, okay, I actually feel like I'm confident and ready. And I mean, I graduated USC in 2022, so it was like I felt like I still needed those couple years of like, I want to work on this before I try to just like, because they're expensive but they are worth it if you were applying to the right contests.
And it all adds up, right? It all certainly can break the bank if we're not careful. So what was it like getting the call that you've won this competition? Tell us that experience.
They told us that they were calling us to talk about, so we were both category winners first. I was the half-hour pilot category winner. Laura was the drama feature category winner. So they told us that they needed to call us to go over the package. And I was like, okay, like it's probably going to be like, you're going to get your $1,000 in this. And so I was at work and I set this, we scheduled it for lunchtime and I like hid in an editing bay because I didn't want to like let anyone know I was taking this call. And then on the phone, they're like, so you won. And I was like, I won the category winner. Yeah. Like, thanks. Yeah, I know. It was great. And they're like, no, like you won a TV. I'm like, oh, so there must be like a step down before the grand prize. It's like a TV prize. Like, no, like you won. And I was like, so I won the 10,000. And he was like, yes, you won the $10,000. So I needed it to be explicitly stepped out for me because I did not believe it.
Laura, what was it like for
God,
you?
That's so funny. Not so dissimilar. I remember thinking the same thing. We weren't told in the email scheduling the call that we had won. And so I assumed that meant that I did not win the grand prize. And which had been my assumption all along, truly. Every step of the competition, I was like, how great is it that I got to this point? I'm going to milk it. I'm going to do everything I can for this. So when I got on the call, I was sort of in between things. I just walked my dog. I was going to go to a Pilates class. This was kind of wedged in there. And then all of a sudden my stomach dropped out when I kind of realized that it beat out everybody else in the competition in the feature space.
10,000 scripts in all, just saying.
Just really just an unbelievable gift. And yeah, I just said what a lot of times. And eventually they told me more details. And then I hung up and called my mother, my sister, and my husband.
Who I'm sure all jumped up and down because especially for people from the outside of the industry, right? When the questions are usually like, okay, when is your movie getting made?
Mm-hmm.
When is your TV show on there? So having something like that to show and share. I won a big screenwriting competition, arguably one of the biggest screenwriting competitions out there, I'm sure is something that they could celebrate with you. Mm-hmm. So Laura, you spoke about at every point of progress in the competition, every time that you moved up to the next level, you got so excited and kind of believed this was it. And in the name of it, it sounds like you got quite active even before you won the grand prize in terms of trying to leverage this for access. And I'm specifically thinking about your representation situation. So could you tell us a little bit about that and how you use the progress in competition to build that?
Absolutely. Yeah. I think before I had gotten very high in this competition, I was always very aware that anybody who I was talking to didn't know me from Adam. I might think that I'm talented, but they probably meet hundreds of people a day, and what was going to set me apart. So I never wanted to come off over insistent or overly assertive. But one thing that the category win helped me do, being a finalist and then a category winner, was realize, oh no, I belong here. Like I can speak as if I am. I have accolades because I do. And so I started to put it out there a little bit more and being a little bit more assertive with my my networks, both online and in person, saying I am looking for a manager. If you know somebody who is looking to sign people, please put me in contact with them. I am a category winner. This is, I had to beat out a lot of people in order to do this. There's only 10 of us in the feature space, or 11 of us, I should say. And people were very helpful. And I think that we can talk a little bit more later about the value of writing groups in general, because I'm a big proponent of them. But someone from my writing group, who is a friend who I've known for several years now and knows my writing extremely well, he's been reading it monthly for 2.5 years. He started to work his network. So he's repped, and he had the ability to kind of talk to people and say, I have this great writer. She just won this category. She's going to be hot. She's going to be big. Like, who wants to read her? And a friend of his introduced me to the person who's now my manager, Max Gonzalez at Fourth Wall. And it was pretty soon after we got on that Zoom, we knew that we were pretty aligned, which was wonderful. And so I signed with him after the category win, which was huge. And of course, when I told him that I won the grand prize, he was overjoyed for me. And he's just been so wonderful.
That's really great. And I love that you were so proactive about it, because at the end of the day, I'm a big proponent of nobody has more to gain than you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really happy that you took it and ran with it. Now, I have been working with the Final Draft Big Break contest for well over a decade now, because I love the kind of the quote unquote prize, right? The access that it grants you. But let's not take it from me. Let's take it from you. Tell us about what happens and what comes next when you win the grand prize in the Final Draft Big Break contest. Maya, let's start with you.
There's so much that comes with it. Well, like the biggest, other than the money prize, which is of course, who doesn't love the money prize? What we've just kind of finished is this, what they call like this winners tour, which is about 3 to 4 days of just nonstop meetings with writers, managers, executives at studios. Like it's been invaluable, because I've been trying to build up my network while I've been here in LA, and I've networked with a lot of assistants, but getting to actually like meet managers where, me having no writing credits yet, that's difficult to get in the room there. And actually, instead of me being like, please, can I have a coffee with you? It's actually been set because I just won this competition, and it's gone through this kind of like other means where it's just starting you on a different foot with somebody, versus coming from a place of lack. You're now coming from a place of like, I have something maybe to say, and I have this kind of, I have Final Draft behind me, supporting me, which has been invaluable. So this tour, even like LA based or not LA based, is so helpful. There's also a bunch of different prizes. Like we get to take a UCLA extension class through this. There's probably stuff that I'm forgetting, but like I got to have a meeting with Carol Kirshner, who runs the WGA showrunner training program, amongst other many things that she's done in her career. That was invaluable. We get to meet with Yuli, which is like so helpful. And getting to have like multiple sessions to like work on our career building, and you helping to guide us. There's so many other like not little, but like so many things that build out like the winner's package. It's not just one thing or, two things. It's like many things. Like it's clear that this has been like years in the making of accruing different features of this to make it the most worthwhile.
And you guys have really been, I have to say, both of you have been amazing through it. You've been so well-spoken and so composed and so smart. And it's been really great watching both of you starting to build those relationships and getting, going from meeting to meeting, from lunch to lunch with you guys, and seeing people get excited about you. That's a really cool thing. Laura, what has it been like for you?
It's been phenomenal. As someone who doesn't live in LA, kind of having this grand tour is invaluable. And Maya and I hope this is okay to say on the podcast, but I reached out to Maya on Instagram pretty soon after I found out that we won.
Maybe the day of.
Maybe the day of. I needed somewhere to put my energy. And I was like, oh my gosh, nobody understands what this is like or what's going on right now or how this feels, except for Maya. And so I knew that we should probably connect. And I'm so glad we did. We were able to talk a little bit before coming here. And then, of course, we've been spending a lot of time together over the last 3 days, which has been great. I mean, just tag teaming these meetings, we've both gotten a lot out of it individually, and then we're able to be kind of hype men for each other. Yeah. What was the question initially? Well, the value of the trip.
Yeah, what's it been like for you?
Yeah, same thing. One thing I really loved, I'm a big proponent of the Screenwriter's Bible. And one of the prizes was that you get a little bit of query coaching or one-pager coaching and a signed copy of the Screenwriter's Bible from Dave Trottier, who I've always admired. And so to be able to talk to him directly and kind of tell him how influential his book has been on me learning the formatting elements of screenwriting has been great. And there's a bunch of little elements of that all throughout the prize package. And this week in particular, being able to speak directly to the people who influenced me has been a phenomenal experience.
So speaking to that, yesterday after a breakfast with a big writer and a lunch with a couple folks from WME and afternoon drinks with Krista Sipp from Heroes and Villains, you guys had the opportunity to go to the WGA library and look through some nostalgia. What was that like for you guys?
You want to go first?
It was amazing. I mean, we both got to submit some titles of scripts that were influential for us beforehand, and then they had them ready for us to see. And there were like Greta Gerwig wrote in Barbie and in Lady Bird like a little note to the future reader, which is like so invaluable. Moonstruck is one of my favorite movies, and they had an original draft of a script of when it was previously titled Moonglow, and I was like, I didn't even know that there was an old title that wasn't originally, always just Moonstruck. And then like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, there was a scene at the beginning of the movie that got completely cut that I don't remember at all, that I was like, oh my God, this is like, you wouldn't know. And I guess it's open to the public, which people don't know, that you just have to book an appointment and you can go. But definitely should. It's just like just the feeling of being in that room and seeing all of these bound scripts is just like, oh, you feel the energy of years of screenwriters who've also suffered to write and have been through it, who've like created just such beautiful work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm a big Billy Wilder fan. And I did not know this before we showed up yesterday, but they have a collection of his scripts that he owned. So his full bound collection of his screenplays. And so I got to spend a lot of time paging through Double Indemnity, which is just watermarked to hell. And it's the only one I think they have in the collection where they have his handwriting in it. And so you can see, and it was a line that I actually really loved, that he hand wrote in that hadn't been in the original script. So that was like unexpectedly moving. I got a little like emotional. It was very strange, and I can't even talk about Greta Gerwig and everything that you just mentioned, or I'll start crying again. But no, and Maya knows I was pulling her over to my seat and reading her parts of Double Indemnity.
Yeah,
like,
it was really sweet.
You got to hear this.
It was just really special, and it wasn't like. It had nothing to do with networking. It had nothing to do with, it was just like something that a screenwriter would just love.
It was
and
a
it was
gift.
just like, yeah, it was such a gift. And I was like, that's such a like sweet way to kind of, at the very end of this tour, to get to do. It was, priceless.
So I want to go back a little bit because I've been struck by just how composed you both have been on this tour, how well you've presented yourself. And I know that doesn't just happen overnight. You, Laura, mentioned writers groups and how important those were for you. So I want to hear a little bit from you guys about what all the things that you've done up until now that helped you arrive at this moment, both on the writing front, as well as the networking, the personal narrative, all of that. What are the things that you've done that helped you be the writer that you are today?
Oh my gosh. Very specific things and so many. I can think of 4. Let's see if I remember by the end of the list that I think are the most influential. Maybe the writer I am today. I mentioned it briefly, but WIF, the Women in Film and Video organization, their Narrative Script Development Fellowship was extremely generous. A lot of time spent with me, a lot of different mentors. One of the mentors in the program is Joan Darling, the first woman to win an Emmy for directing. And she is magnificent. She's also a mentor at the Daniels, and it's just it was a wonderful program for me, kind of just starting out and getting my feet wet. I think writers groups are invaluable, and I should say good writers groups, as many people have told me. I only know a good writers group. I've been very lucky. We're very dedicated. We meet almost weekly. We're structured, and everybody in that writers group is trying to break in, and everybody has had some success in the last 2.5 years, either getting repped or getting a movie that's going into production, or like working for a company, or like acting in TV. Just a wonderful group of people. And what that's helped me with was to pull my personal feelings out of my writing. So I have this group of people who I trust so much and who's read so much of my stuff at very early stages. And I know I could send them drivel and they could tell me it's drivel, and that doesn't mean they think I'm a bad writer, because they've liked what I've written in the past. So they know me, they get me, and that's been something that I'll value forever. I said 4 things.
Yes, we're over to 2.
With writing group. I have a wonderful mentor in Washington, D.C., John Gann. He's a producer who hired me for a job that was kind of film adjacent, and then pulled me into work on a short documentary that's coming out next week when I had no credits, no experience, just a lot of enthusiasm. And that learning experience has been incredible. Being able to be on set, learn from him about the logistics, the behind the scenes elements of making a film. That has been something that I've loved. So mentorship. And then for me specifically, as somebody who doesn't live in LA, the Austin Film Festival has actually been quite useful. So I'm able to kind of carve out time every year to go, which is no small thing. It's a flight, it's a hotel, it's the cost of attending the Screenwriters Conference. But for 4 days, I get to say my log line 100 times to new people I'm meeting. I get to talk with other people who are writing similar things to me. If you're looking to build a writers group or get in touch with other writers or just not feel so alone wherever you are, that isn't necessarily LA, if you're not ready to move or you don't have plans to move, that has been so helpful for me in terms of keeping those relationships going throughout the year and then renewing them either at Austin or in LA when I visit. Okay, that was 4.
That was 4. You hit all 4 of them.
It was a long answer, but I feel very passionately about all of them.
But I think it's really helpful to people who are listening to this who understand that it's not just I wrote a script in a vacuum, I threw it in, and now I'm going to win it. A lot more goes into it, not only the winning, but also showing up in the best way possible to make the most of this opportunity. And both of you guys have done that. So I think telling our listeners what's worked for you and what's helped you get here is incredibly important. So thank you for that. It was all we needed. Maya, do you have anything to add that you feel like you've done to help you arrive at this moment as you have?
I feel like having worked as an assistant in the industry at an agency and at a production company it just helps. Like, you can practice pitching, of course, and at USC I practice pitching a lot and trying to succinctly say who I am and what I write, and like my brand is, they talk about that a lot. But feeling like in terms of like feeling comfortable with like relating and connecting to people who work in Hollywood and feeling like you're speaking the same language and not coming in as like a really like, oh, I'm so excited to be here, and more of like I know I should be here. I know I deserve to be. Try not to exude the fake it till you make it confidence.
Completely.
That was, I think, just came from like working at UTA, working around people and seeing the way that they were, I don't know, it just helped me feel more like an insider versus an outsider, even though it was. Yeah, I would recommend to anybody who's like, if you're, how do I break in? How do I meet? I have no connections. I have no network. I'm not a Nepo baby. No hate to the Nepo babies. If you got it, you got to use it.
Absolutely.
But the mailroom is a great way just to meet a lot of interesting people and to learn how the business works, because you can read a lot of books, but like actually seeing it every day and living it and getting paid is what I would recommend. It just helps with feeling like you're part of something. You're part of Hollywood,
which is great and invaluable advice. So Laura, we know you are repped. What is it like working with a rep for the first time? I know you guys are aligned, which is really exciting.
Yeah.
What's it like? How does that change things?
It has changed everything, and I know that a rep isn't the be all end all. There's a lot that goes into it as well. On the craft side, but I feel like I have somebody in my corner, which was really lovely. Writing can be kind of solitary. So to have somebody who reads what I write and loves what I write is a huge vote of confidence. And also somebody who knows the industry, who can say, I'm taking this love of your writing and applying it to what's hot right now, who's looking for this, what the audience is, kind of these secondary questions that I sometimes struggle with as an outsider, super invaluable. And then the fact that he's been working in Hollywood for many years and he has all of these connections with production companies and people who I had only dreamed of ever meeting, much less talking about my work or potentially making my work. It would have been unthinkable to me 3 months ago. And so it does feel like everything has changed. I'm really looking forward to continuing to work with him on some of my newer pieces and building my career with the Final Draft win as a jumping off point.
Love that. And Maya, you're in the process. What is it like when you start talking to reps? You're having conversations with different people. We'll see where all of it lands. I will be surprised if certain things don't happen. But what is it like? What is it like to be in it?
It's been amazing because I have gone the last 3 years living in LA, have not really had a chance or had an opportunity to meet managers and in the way that we've been meeting them. And it's been really interesting. I was just trying to you've kind of gotten this advice from you guys of just try to have a conversation. Try the elevator pitch of I need to come in and I need to tell them exactly what I write. It's no, just try to seem like a normal person, which is kind of great advice here. I'm okay, it doesn't need to be this really robotic thing. It can just be trying to give a sense of what your vibe is, see what their vibe is, see how they approach, finding work for their clients. And I've been loving it. Yeah.
It's been really great to see how everybody responded to you. As far as managers, you're being read by a number of different people now. You guys have both landed so well. And it's really been lovely also to see you guys champion each other, which is a really good thing.
Which has been easy. I genuinely love your script so much.
Same. Yeah.
Anything that we've not covered about the SWIN or about the writing, anything that you think that writers out there should know about it that we may not have covered? And if there's nothing, there's
about
nothing.
The contest?
About the contest, about writing, about any of it. Is there something that we have not told you that you wish somebody had? Is there some belief that you had coming into it that you were proven wrong or right on?
I wish I had learned to outline earlier. It's kind of a craft thing, not so much a contest thing.
But it's a really important craft thing, so thank you for saying that.
Some people, it just doesn't work for them, and that's fine. But for me, especially through the fellowship, when people would have big notes for me, this is not the direction it should go in, which would necessitate throwing out 40 pages, 50 pages or something. I took that personally. I was sad to lose this particular joke or this turn of phrase or this cool sentence that I had in there. So I got attached to the little bits of it, which are not the story. And so it just felt so much more painful to make edits. Whereas if I had gotten those notes from my writing group, I didn't have my writing group at the time, but if I had gotten those notes from my writing group on an outline, I don't care. It's not 50 pages. It's half a page, and I can rewrite that 5 times before the rest of the day. So it hurt less. And then when I do start writing, it goes much faster because I've already done all of the work ahead of time to form the story that I'm going to tell.
Yeah, to build the architecture. And I actually think it's an incredibly important skill for anybody who wants to work professionally. We talk a lot about the world of specs, but the reality is that the majority of work for writers today is doing writing assignments, whether they are writing the script for a pitch that they sold or doing an adaptation or writing in a writer's room. And when you're working with producers at any level, those outlining skills are going to be so important. Maya, I'm sure that you're saying it, even with a bird's eye view on the different rooms that you guys have going on. So it's a really important skill, and I'm really happy that you brought it up. Maya, any last thoughts, things you wish you knew, advice, anything like that?
I was so anxious leading up to it, which I was oh my God, I have to make, how's this going to go? I'm excited. And then once it started, I was oh my God, I get to do this. It's not I don't need to be anxious about this because and this has just been a wonderful week. So I wish I could go back in time and be it's going to be fine. But I guess what I would say to people who want to apply or thinking of applying and aren't sure, do it. Do it. And if you don't get in the first time, apply again, because it's truly just such an amazing experience. And I would recommend this to anybody.
You guys have been really amazing going through it. And like I said earlier, it's been really exciting to watch managers and working writers and industry people just respond so well to you and be so excited for you. I can't wait to see what you do with this next. I'll be watching closely as always. So as we know, we are here for the Final Draft Big Break competition, which is run and operated by Final Draft, the dominant kind of go-to software for screenwriters. There is no greater ring to rule them all. You guys are both users of Final Draft?
Yes,
I am.
What do you love about the program?
Similar to my answer before, I like the outlining tools. So when I'm in the brainstorming phase, I don't have to go straight to the script part, which can be very daunting. But then all of the work that I've done in the outlining phase will translate to the script part, which is really useful.
I love it because I don't have to think about the formatting. And when I started like really seriously considering screenwriting, I was like, I need to download Final Draft. Like I don't want to use Celtx anymore. And I remember like I asked my mom I'm like, for my birthday, I want Final Draft. Because I'm like, you just buy it once and then you have it for life. And she was like, are you sure? I'm like, Mom, like, I'm serious now. Like, I'm a serious screenwriter. And but whenever I like go into, I don't know, whenever I click in a Final Draft, it just is like okay, now I'm writing. Like now it's like go time. And yeah, I just am so used to like it just is just really easy to use. Like that's not like a sales pitch. Like it genuinely is it just knows like where the software knows like what needs to come next and how it needs to be formatted. And yeah.
Yeah, it's incredibly intuitive and smart, and really the tool that has been the standard in this industry for so long and used so far and wide, from studio executives on down, all the way through to our biggest writers. So thrilled that you guys are both using it and that you won the competition. Put on by it. So I think we're good to wrap up. So I want to thank you both for not only being here to talk about this today and talking about it so openly, but for how you showed up for this winners tour, for the scripts that you've written. I think you are exemplary of what we want to see for the winners of the competition. You've certainly made the most of it, made the most of every opportunity, but really showed up ready and prepared, which I think makes such a great impact.
Well, that's because of you. We got to meet with you before, and I really think like that helps so much. Like the meeting with you, the meeting with Carol, we had a dinner on the first night with the writer who helped us like refine our pitches. Like all of that, I wouldn't have been as successful if we hadn't had that prep. Not to interrupt you, but
No.
You've been great.
Thank you for that. But really, it's been a blast. So we all will be watching and can't wait to see what you do next.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Lee.
Thank you for having us.
You're the best.
Thank you guys, and thank you to Final Draft for having us and putting this on and all the rest of it.
Should we say it? You said like, thank you, Final Draft. I will. Should we like this screen grab?
She's like, I'll do it. Tell me what to say.
Put me I'll be the face of the app.
Love it. All right.